What if I told you that the real threat to your life after age 75 isn't just cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, but 5 slow, silent forces that are already at work inside your body right now? These killers don't strike like lightning. They whisper. They chip away at your health, bit by bit, until one day, something snaps. A fall you never recover from. A memory lapse that turns into a diagnosis. A pill interaction that lands you in the hospital. And the truth is, most of these things could have been prevented. According to recent data from the CDC and the World Health Organization, a staggering 99% of deaths in people over 75 can be traced back to just 5 root causes. Not 1, not 10, 5. And most of them start developing years before you feel the first symptom. That's why they go unnoticed, until it's too late. But here's the twist. These aren't exotic diseases or rare conditions. In fact, you may be feeding them every day by the food you eat, the way you move or don't, the pills you take, and even the way you sleep. One of them is directly tied to how quickly your muscles waste away. Another hijacks your brain without warning, and one of them is hiding in your medicine cabinet right now. Here's what researchers now understand. Living a long life isn't just about avoiding obvious disasters like cancer or strokes. It's about preserving the hidden systems that regulate your muscles, your mind, your heart, and your immune defenses. And when those systems break down, the body quietly begins to shut down from the inside out. For example, a groundbreaking study from Harvard found that low muscle mass, something most seniors dismiss as normal aging, is more predictive of early death than high blood pressure or high cholesterol. And yet, millions of older adults don't realize they're walking around with dangerously weak muscles that could cost them everything. But this video isn't about fear. It's about taking control. Because every one of these 5 causes is modifiable. That means you have the power to slow, stop, and even reverse some of the damage starting today. So stay with me. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you the 5 silent forces behind 99% of post-75 deaths, and what doctors wish more patients knew about how to fight back. One of these may shock you. Another may be the very thing you've been told is healthy, but knowledge is power. And when it comes to aging well, this knowledge could add years, real, vibrant years, to your life. Have you subscribed to this channel yet? I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and tell me how I can improve this content for you. The number 1 cause deaths after 75 is chronic inflammation. Most people think of inflammation as something that happens when you sprain your ankle or get an infection. Redness, swelling, pain, that's acute inflammation, your body's natural defense mechanism. But what if your body never turned that signal off? That's what happens with chronic inflammation. A low-level, smoldering fire that burns quietly inside your tissues and organs for years, and by the time most people notice, the damage is done. Scientists have now confirmed that chronic inflammation is one of the most powerful predictors of early death after age 75. In fact, a landmark study in the Journal of Gerontology followed over 5,000 adults for a decade and found that those with high levels of inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6, were twice as likely to die from heart disease, dementia, diabetes complications, and even certain cancers. But here's the kicker. Most seniors have no idea they're inflamed. There are no outward signs. You don't feel a fever. You don't feel sore. You just feel tired, stiff, foggy. Maybe your digestion is off, maybe your memory feels a little slower, and you chalk it up to age. The truth? Many of those symptoms are signs that your body is under attack from within. So, what causes this silent fire? First, diet. Processed foods, especially those loaded with sugar, refined oils, and additives, are top offenders. So are processed meats, white bread, and fried foods. These ingredients trigger your immune system over and over until it stays on, like a faulty smoke alarm that never stops beeping. Second, sedentary living. Movement is one of the most effective ways to regulate your immune response. When you don't move, inflammatory chemicals build up, and your lymphatic system, which flushes waste, becomes sluggish. Third, sleep deprivation. Studies show that just 1 week of poor sleep can raise inflammation levels by over 25%. And many seniors, especially those with sleep apnea or nighttime pain, go months or even years without consistent rest. Finally, chronic stress and pollutants, like air pollution, pesticides, and cleaning products, can fuel this fire even more. Your body interprets all of these stressors as threats and fights back again and again until it becomes exhausted. The good news? You can cool this fire starting today. Adopt an anti-inflammatory diet rich in leafy greens, berries, fatty fish like salmon, olive oil, nuts, and turmeric. These foods don't just taste good, they actively calm your immune system and repair damaged tissue. Add daily gentle movement. Even a 20-minute walk or stretching session can make a huge difference. Prioritize 7-8 hours of sleep and speak to your doctor about sleep issues. Consider meditation or deep breathing to lower stress hormones, which directly influence inflammation levels. And, most importantly, get a blood test for inflammation markers, like CRP. This silent killer is only visible when you look for it. The second cause of death after 75 is sarcopenia, the muscle loss that quietly steals your life. You might think of muscle as something only athletes care about. But after the age of 60, muscle isn't just about strength, it's about survival. And yet, millions of seniors are losing it at an alarming rate without even realizing what's happening. This hidden condition has a name: sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the gradual age loss of muscle mass and function. It begins as early as your 40s but accelerates rapidly after 70. By the time most people reach 75, they've lost up to 40% of their total muscle mass. A devastating drop that affects everything from balance to brain function. It's not just about being weak, it's about becoming vulnerable to a host of life-threatening problems. Here's how sarcopenia kills. When your muscles shrink, your mobility declines. You walk slower. You become unstable. Falls become more frequent, and recovery becomes harder, if it happens at all. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, seniors with low muscle mass are 3 times more likely to suffer fatal falls than their stronger peers. But it doesn't stop there. Your muscles also act like metabolic engines. They help regulate blood sugar, protect you from insulin resistance, and even support immune function. Without muscle, you're at higher risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cognitive decline. Worse, many doctors don't screen for it. Sarcopenia is rarely discussed during checkups, even though it's one of the strongest predictors of early death after age 75. Why? Because it develops quietly. There's no single moment you notice it. You just find yourself avoiding stairs. You struggle to open jars, you get tired quicker, and you blame it on age, when really, it's a slow erosion of one of your body's most protective systems. But here's the empowering truth. Sarcopenia is not inevitable. You can prevent it, and in many cases, reverse it. The first step is resistance training. Lifting light weights, using resistance bands, or even doing body weight exercises like squats and wall push-ups can activate muscle growth even in your 80s and 90s. A study published in The Lancet found that seniors who performed strength training just twice a week reduced their risk of all-cause mortality by nearly 46%. Second, nutrition is critical. Without enough protein, your muscles can't rebuild. Older adults should aim for at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, more than the standard recommendation. Lean meats, eggs, dairy, beans, and high-quality protein powders can help. But protein alone isn't enough. You need leucine, an essential amino acid that directly stimulates muscle repair. Foods rich in leucine include eggs, soybeans, chicken, and Greek yogurt. Vitamin D and omega-3s also play supporting roles in keeping muscles strong. Lastly, don't wait until you're frail. The earlier you start protecting your muscles, the more life you preserve, not just in years, but in quality. The third cause of death after 75 is silent cardiovascular decline. You've probably heard that heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. But what most people don't realize, especially after age 75, is that many fatal heart conditions never show obvious symptoms until it's too late. This is the danger of what doctors are now calling silent cardiovascular decline. Unlike dramatic events like a heart attack or stroke, silent decline happens in the background, slowly, steadily, and invisibly. Your arteries stiffen, your blood pressure quietly creeps up, your circulation weakens, and your heart, once powerful, starts to struggle with simple demands like climbing stairs or standing up too quickly. But because the decline is gradual, it often goes unnoticed until there's a sudden, catastrophic event. According to findings from the Framingham Heart Study, which tracked thousands of adults over multiple decades, age changes in the cardiovascular system are a leading cause of sudden death in seniors over 75, even in those who have never been diagnosed with heart disease. Why? Because we've been taught to look only for big signs like chest pain or shortness of breath. But in older adults, the warning signs are more subtle: fatigue, lightheadedness, cold hands and feet, mild ankle swelling, or irregular sleep due to nighttime urination. Many seniors attribute these symptoms to just getting older, but in reality, they may be signs that your heart and blood vessels are weakening. A key driver of this decline is arterial stiffness, when the blood vessels lose their elasticity. This forces the heart to work harder to pump blood, raising the risk of high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and heart failure. Another major contributor is microvascular disease, tiny vessel blockages that don't show up on standard tests but starve your brain, kidneys, and muscles of vital nutrients. The hidden risk? Atrial fibrillation, AFib-ADA condition, where your heart beats irregularly, increasing the risk of stroke 5-fold. Many older adults with AFib have no symptoms at all until they suffer a devastating clot or collapse. So, how can you protect yourself from this silent threat? First, monitor your blood pressure regularly, not just at the doctor's office but at home. Track both systolic and diastolic numbers, and take readings at different times of day. A healthy range for older adults is often 120/130 over 70/80, but speak to your doctor for your specific case. Second, focus on cardiovascular-friendly nutrients. Magnesium, found in leafy greens and legumes, potassium from bananas, avocados, and sweet potatoes, and omega-3 fatty acids from salmon, flaxseed, and walnuts help maintain healthy blood vessels and heart rhythm. Limit sodium, especially from processed foods. Third, walk daily. Even a brisk 20-minute walk can improve vascular flexibility and oxygen delivery. Research from the European Heart Journal shows that walking just 30 minutes 5 times a week reduces the risk of cardiovascular death by over 30% in seniors. Finally, ask your doctor about getting an echocardiogram or EKG, especially if you've been experiencing unexplained fatigue or dizziness. Early detection can be life-saving. In the next section, we move from the heart to the mind and explore how cognitive decline doesn't just steal your memories, but may also shorten your life in ways no one talks about. Number 4 cause of death after 75 is cognitive decline and dementia. What most people don't realize is that memory loss isn't just frustrating, it's deadly. The brain controls everything: balance, breathing, decision-making, emotional regulation, even immune response. When brain function begins to break down, the entire body follows. And after age 75, this decline is one of the most devastating predictors of early death. According to a study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society, older adults with even mild cognitive impairment were twice as likely to die within 5 years compared to those with healthy brain function. Why? Because cognitive decline erodes more than memory, it erodes independence. People with diminished brain function are more likely to skip medications, eat poorly, fall more often, get lost, withdraw from social life, and make poor health decisions. And perhaps most importantly, they lose the ability to advocate for themselves, to notice symptoms, schedule doctor visits, or communicate concerns. But what causes this mental erosion in the first place? One major factor is vascular damage. Tiny blood vessels that supply the brain can become stiff or clogged over time, reducing oxygen and nutrients. This is known as vascular dementia, a condition that often goes undiagnosed but is alarmingly common in older adults. Another cause is chronic inflammation, which we covered earlier. When the body is inflamed, it sends inflammatory proteins into the brain, where they damage neurons and interfere with chemical signaling. Over time, this contributes to memory loss, confusion, and eventually Alzheimer's. Sleep disorders, particularly sleep apnea, are also deeply linked to dementia. Interrupted sleep starves the brain of oxygen and prevents the deep, restorative phases needed to flush out toxins, especially beta-amyloid plaques, the proteins associated with Alzheimer's. And then there's social isolation. Studies show that seniors who lack regular human interaction experience up to a 60% greater risk of dementia. Loneliness is now recognized as a major neurological stressor. But again, the good news is this: you can take action. Start with brain-nourishing foods. Berries, leafy greens, olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish are all part of the MIND diet, a hybrid of the Mediterranean and DASH diets, proven to protect cognitive health. Engage your brain daily. Puzzles, reading, writing, and learning a new skill can all strengthen neural pathways. Physical activity, especially walking, also stimulates brain-directed neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that promotes neuron survival. Don't ignore hearing loss. Poor hearing increases the risk of dementia by up to 90%. If you struggle to hear in conversations or crowds, get a hearing test, because untreated hearing loss starves the brain of sound, weakening cognition. Finally, stay socially active. Join a group, volunteer, call a friend. Connection isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Number 5. Polypharmacy. You trust your medications to keep you alive. But what if the very pills you take every day are quietly increasing your risk of death after 75? Polypharmacy. The practice of taking 5 or more prescription medications at once, often for different conditions. On the surface, it seems necessary. Blood pressure pills, blood thinners, cholesterol meds, diabetes drugs, pain relievers, the list grows with age. But here's the hidden danger. As the number of medications increases, so does the risk of dangerous drug interactions, side effects, and organ overload. According to research published in the British Medical Journal, nearly 40% of adults over 75 are on at least 5 prescription drugs. 1 in 5 takes 10 or more, and most don't realize that their medications might be working against each other or against their body. Here's how it happens. A senior visits their doctor for high blood pressure and gets a prescription. Months later, they complain of muscle pain, so another pill is added. They feel dizzy, so a sedative is prescribed. Sleep worsens, so in comes a sleep aid. Before long, the list has ballooned, and no single doctor is managing the full picture. The consequences are often devastating. Seniors on multiple medications are 3 times more likely to suffer a fall due to dizziness, low blood pressure, or muscle weakness, at higher risk for kidney and liver damage, as these organs struggle to process the chemical load. More likely to develop delirium or confusion, especially if sedatives, anticholinergics, or opioids are involved. More vulnerable to hospitalization due to adverse drug reactions, now one of the leading causes of ER visits in seniors. Even common combinations can be harmful. For example, NSAIDs, like ibuprofen, combined with blood thinners, can dramatically increase bleeding risk. Certain statins clash with grapefruit, leading to muscle breakdown. Antidepressants may heighten fall risk when paired with sleep aids or anxiety medications. The problem is often made worse by over-the-counter drugs and supplements that patients forget to mention to their doctors. Vitamin K, for instance, can interfere with warfarin. Herbal remedies like St. John's wort can reduce the effectiveness of heart medications. But the solution isn't simply to stop taking your medications. It's about safe, strategic reduction, a process called deprescribing. The first step? Schedule a full medication review with your GP or a clinical pharmacist. Ask them to evaluate each drug for necessity, dosage, interactions, and side effects. In many cases, seniors can safely stop or reduce medications, improving quality of life and reducing death risk. Also, keep a current medication list on paper. Bring it to every appointment, and never assume that more is better. As we age, our body becomes more sensitive to drugs. What worked at 55 may be too much at 75. Finally, prioritize non-drug solutions where possible. Exercise, diet, weight loss, physical therapy, mindfulness, or supplements under supervision can reduce the need for multiple medications. The greatest risks to your life after 75 aren't always the ones you expect. They aren't sudden or loud. They don't always come with pain or warning signs. Instead, they build quietly, through inflammation that burns beneath the surface, through muscle that wastes away without a fight, through a heart that tires in silence, through a mind that forgets how to function, and through medications that quietly stack up until the body is overwhelmed. But these aren't just tragic facts. They're opportunities. Because the most dangerous part of aging is not what happens to the body. It's what we ignore, excuse, or assume is just part of getting older. It's the missed chances to intervene before something breaks. Start by talking to your doctor, not just about symptoms, but about systems. Ask about inflammation. Get your heart rhythm checked. Review your medications. Tell them you want to understand your risks, not just manage them after the fact. Make movement a non-negotiable. Every step strengthens your heart. Every squat fights muscle loss. Every stretch maintains your independence. Your muscles, your bones, your blood vessels, they all respond to use. The more you move, the more life they give back to you. Rethink food not as pleasure alone, but as medicine. Feed your brain, your heart, your gut. Choose foods that repair. Greens, berries, olive oil, fatty fish, Legumes. Don't let processed meals, excess sugar, or sodium chip away at your health while you look the other way. And above all, protect your mind. Stay mentally engaged. Learn something new. Your brain is not a candle that simply burns out with age. It's a network that thrives on challenge and connection. If this video has opened your eyes, then do one thing right now. Share it. Let someone else